Hey everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about what people get wrong about the rank 1 player. I'm going to try and keep this short, sharp, concise, to the point. This is going to be for people that not only play mid but play other roles as well. So recently I made a tier list. Whether or not you agree with it, that's not the point. I made a tier list, I put it on Twitter. Some people really agree with it, other people not so much. This is what my interpretation of what the meta was at the time of posting it. And a lot of it was inspired by the rank 1 player in EU, MagiFelix. I've been watching a lot of his games and I really like the way he interprets the meta. He has or at least the way I interpret his gameplay and what I see from him is he believes that mid is a role that it kind of facilitates other roles. Specifically bot lane, he believes it's, by the looks of things, it's a very bot lane centric meta. He plays champions like Zilean, Karma, Rise, shoving and moving, priority, complementing your jungler, complementing your bot lane. And he has had a lot of success with these champions, like the Zilean, like the Karma, currently sitting at around 1800 LP. It works. I mean, even including TF, it's the same premise. So I shaped a lot of my tier list around that because I really feel like it's an incredibly effective way of playing high elo solo queue. But it's a very particular way of playing Zilean, and this is where things you got to get very, very careful. When I put Zilean here, I don't mean Zilean holistically as a champion. I mean a very, very particular way of playing Zilean, which we're going to be covering today. Okay, so what happens, people see this tier list, or whether it's my tier list, or LS's tier list, or someone else's tier list, and they're like, oh wow, rank 1 player playing Zilean, or Curtis's tier list, or LS's tier list put X champion rank 1 S tier. Oh my god, this must be broken. I gotta play this. So what happens? They pick Zilean, they start copying the build and runes, they fail inevitably, and they start to question why. What they realize is that they only get 3 of the 4 components. Component 1, champion, you pick Zilean. Component 2, you copy the runes and the summon is great. Component 3, you copy the build. The most important component is understanding how it's actually played and what are you trying to do with this setup? What are you trying to do with the actual pick itself? How does this pick actually win games? For some reason, people always think like, oh my god, this champion is really, really strong or quote unquote broken, therefore I can pick it mindlessly by copying this setup and win. No, you're only half of the way there. The how it's actually played is the most important thing. Okay, and this is generally what the process looks like for most players from what I've seen anyway. They see rank 1 playing Zilean, or a random tier list like mine. They pick the champion up, copying the runes and builds, and there's 3 scenarios. They either have short-term success through, blissful ignorance or just straight luck, inevitably failing, leading to another short-term gimmick pick, or it never works at all. They find some excuse calling MagiFelix built different, whatever, move on to another pick, or they just get extremely lucky. The champion actually just clicks with you. It works given the way you like to play the game, and then ideally that should theoretically lead on to a process focused on long-term champion mastery. I mean, that would be ideal if that is the case. But generally looks something like this. But if you're like really confused, a lot of that confusion can just go away very, very quickly if you get into the reviews. You go on to League of Graphs, you load up some of his VODs, and you figure out how is this guy actually winning games with the champion. So we're actually going to go through one of the games he's played recently, a Zilean versus an Orianna, an extremely hard matchup, and we're going to break down step by step how he actually does it, how he plays Zilean specifically. Now, what's super interesting is that when you actually take a look at, builds, you take a look at runes, you take a look at summoners, you got to think of it in relation to what is he trying to achieve with the champion? How does the champ's identity and the setup interact with the style to bring about victory? So if we actually take a look at a lot of the time, he goes C-pot nearly every single game. He does not go tier. He basically rushes Lucidity Boots, maybe with a little bit of early durability with like a Ruby Crystal or a Doran's Ring in fast-paced games. Usually he's actually going secondary inspiration with Time Warp Tonic, Biscuits, and even with Scorch, Airy, very aggressive with Ignite. And he has incredibly low CS per minute. Now, if you didn't actually watch any of his games, and I've actually seen this firsthand, where people have picked Zilean blindly with the same setup, and then play for hyper scaling into mid-game, never roaming, never playing for prio, playing for plates and lane, and completely misinterpreting the entire point of this setup. The entire point of this setup is that you want to get to Lucidity Boots as early as you possibly can. And then you want to be basically ditching waves or walking with your jungler on cannon waves or running bot, facilitating your other Fed member or the members that you believe that can be the genuine win conditions. Because Zilean, all he needs is his ultimate. He needs a little bit of ability haste and he just needs his Everfrost to be useful. right? He doesn't need immense amount of CS per minute to win the game, because if he sits in lane, he's slowly going to lose anyway. So what I'm trying to get across is that it all makes sense when you look at the goddamn gameplay. People get so caught up in the runes and the builds and the summoners, but they don't know how the player is genuinely playing the champion. That's just one part of it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a Zilean versus Orianna game, and we're going to get into the details, get very, very specific. All right, so going straight in here, this is one of his recent games. We got Zilean v Orianna. A very difficult matchup in the isolated 1v1. He's actually gone for TP. Usually he goes for Ignite. In a lot of those lower range matchups when he's versing things like Silas or Vex and things like that, he will go Ignite and actually play to contest the 1v1. In this game specifically, he actually chose to play a little bit differently, maybe because he felt as though he can't contest the Orianna in the 1v1. It's probably one of the harder matchups for Zilean if the Orianna is really good. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to try and go through this as if I was a spectator trying to learn Zilean myself, going over the key variables that I think are important to consider. So a few things immediately I'm looking at. How is he trying to approach the lane? Is he trying to contest pressure? How is he actually using his Q? Is he trying to use Q on the Orianna, or is he using Q on the wave? How often is he using his resources? Is he trying to burn through his C-pots really early, go back for an early reset on a specific amount of gold? Or is he trying to take it nice and slow and conservative to get to a specific gold amount? From what I can see here, and this is actually very different to a lot of his other games, he's actually playing not to contest whatsoever. He will try and use his offense as defense and trade with Q every now and then. But a lot of the time, at least in this game from what I saw, he was just getting shoved in, relaxing, playing for farm, trying to get that early lucidity boots. And as you can see already, this matchup looks quite miserable. I mean, Orianna just outranges you, can cast abilities while moving, so landing Q is quite miserable. You're versing Hecarim as well, which has early threat onto you, which is a pain in the ass. He's really just playing to relax, which, C-pot also makes sense, because if you don't go C-pot, you're probably just going to get railed in lane anyway, in most isolated 1v1s. So, fast forwarding a bit, this is relatively straightforward. He's trying to minimize, trying to get those cannons there, using the double bomb on the minion wave there. He actually very rarely does that. From my experience watching his other VODs, he'll usually use the slow on the enemy and then go for a double bomb that way, going back for like an early tier 1 boots or something like that. At the moment, he's currently sitting on 400 gold, so we'll see what he does here. Looks like Orianna gets a little bit of prior and wards bot side, so we're going to fast forward a bit here. Again, this is exactly how I would review it. If this were me trying to learn a champion from someone who's very good at a champion, what exactly are they doing? And even, small little details here, just going back a little bit, how is he able to minimize effectively? Is he baiting out abilities? Is he walking up to bait out abilities? Where is he standing in the lane? Is he trying to stand inside the wave? Does he want to get shoved in, or is he trying to stand outside the wave? MagiFelix is very, very good at minimizing. See what he did here, that little back step there to bait out the Q, which was beautiful. So he's only down 4 CS, which is pretty incredible. He's actually, not too bad at CSing in the early lane here. Fast forwarding a little bit. Viego exerted a little bit of pressure, so Orianna had to kind of respect. Bases on a cannon wave here. Ends up going back for Ruby Crystal tier 1 boots. Very stock standard reset for him, and instantly TP's back. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, okay? So fast forwarding a little bit, looks like Orianna stays a bit longer, comes back, goes for another reset. Orianna also went for early tier into Amp Tomb. A lot of pings going on. And remember, the overarching identity, the way at least I perceive the MagiFelix's gameplay, is he's always searching for win cons. He's always trying to make the game as easy as possible for his teammates. He's not, he's not planning on scaling into late game at all, because the games won't go to late game. If you're getting pummeled in lane and you don't do anything and you sit under your tower, you're slowly going to lose anyway. So he's just trying to get to his level 6 in my interpretation. He's trying to get to that lucidity boots, minimizing to the best of his ability, using his C-pots to really ration out, his CS. As you can see, he's getting zoned really effectively by the Orianna here. Fast forwarding a little bit, looks like his jungle is basically full clearing. Uses double bomb again. And now this is where, look at this is where things start to get interesting. Sees his jungler bot side. Also sees bots kind of pushed up. Gets a beautiful little ward here on bot side. Clears a little bit of vision. Potentially trying to spot out wards here. Create a bit of gank threat with his Viego. And then sees Viego walk down. Now take a look at this. He's got a wave that's about to crash under his tower. 5 creeps. But then he also sees that Viego's moving into bot river, and bot lane is likely going to be his win condition because he's got an Aphelios Lulu here. And look at this. Ditches mid wave, no hesitation, just hovers. Gives a level up to his jungler and just hovers. He's okay to sacrifice creeps here. He's okay to sacrifice creeps. He doesn't care about, 5 creeps here. He wants to make sure that his bot lane and his jungler are in a good position. So he's just hovering around the river here. Orianna goes for a very questionable R here. Gets completely caught off guard. Again, peeling back. Uses the slow beautifully onto the Zilean there. Gets a little bit cut off from his Viego. A bit unfortunate here. Jinx does a beautiful trap there. And this is exactly what he's looking for. He just wants to complement his jungler. He wants to be there, slow down the Hecarim. Now he has threat of the R. So when you're versing a Zilean, this is why I actually put Zilean so far up in the in the tier list. In these sorts of skirmishes, Zilean is incredibly obnoxious because a lot of the time these early skirmishes are determined by whoever gets bursted first, whoever can get the one shot on one of these targets. 3v3s and 4v4s, a lot of the time they're very burst oriented. And look at this. He's still not going back mid. He's still just hovering his team, making sure they can get the wave out. And remember when I saw this for the first time, like, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense why his CS is low. And it makes sense because if he were to consistently play for himself, yet his jungler maybe gets caught off guard or they can't fix the wave state, they're probably not going to win the game anyway. Now, I do think what he's doing here is a little bit overkill. I think, to be honest, going back here, if I was to be a little bit critical, I don't think they really needed help getting the wave out. I think they should have been able to get the wave out by himself. And I think what he should have done is just reset, get Lucidity Boots, run straight back mid. But maybe he was scared that Hecarim was going to beeline straight back bot and prevent them from getting the wave out. Potentially that's what he was thinking. Because you actually see Hecarim here going straight back to his Krugs, I think, on spawn. Which you see here. So, like, it kind of makes sense, but I think this is by far overkill. Now, Orianna, this entire time farming, is already getting up 15 CS here. So, Zilean inevitably resets. Orianna ends up shoving out the wave. Zilean now goes back, finishes Kindle Gem, early ability haste, early durability, combined with the Lucidity Boots for more ability haste. Again, making sure that R is off, cooldown as much as possible. And again, you'll see the same trends happen. Okay, getting shoved in, not really interacting with the Orianna all that much, trying to stay healthy so that when something happens in the river, he's able to attend. Thinning out the wave so he can actually CS it under tower quite effectively. Pretty straightforward. So I'm trying to put myself in his mind. What is he trying to do? Why is he trying to do this? And how is this interacting with the setup? Why is he going the Lucidity Boots rush? I mean, the movement speed is very useful to get to fights. The ability haste, it's cheap boots as well, comparatively to the other ones. Why is he going Kindle Gem? I mean, again, early durability, early ability haste. He looks like he's trying to stack that ability haste. He's not trying to do a bulk amount of damage. He's just trying to be there at fights and be a nuisance, create space for his key carries by the looks of things. Again, no hesitation, moving bot side, sees a little bit of shenanigans going on in bot lane, instantly moving bot, slow into double bomb, burning the Soraka flash. Beautiful. Instantly goes back mid. Yep, loses 3 or 4 creeps in the process. Again, he's happy to make that. He's happy to make that sacrifice. At the moment, 58 CS. The Orianna's basically farming 10 CS per minute. He's only 60 CS by basically 10 minutes. So, not looking too good from a CS perspective. But he has been very impactful so far. Sees Orianna hover top, instead of instantly shoving out mid, just hovers top. Again, any potential skirmish, he's going to try and be there. Spot out the enemy, at least hover out of vision. Looking for these 2v2s, looking for these 3v3s. Okay, again, gets the wave, sees Viego move topside, boom, instantly, no hesitation, move top. Uses E onto himself, get himself topside. You can see the trend already forming. You can already, again, if you're really trying to put yourself in his shoes, it makes sense, and you can kind of see why he's doing what you're doing. And one of the interesting things, and I think I heard this advice somewhere saying, one streamer said, all you got to do is go into the ranked solo queue ladder, find the rank 1 player, look at what they're playing, and copy their build, and copy what they're doing. I don't necessarily agree with that, because the way MagiFelix is playing right now, I don't think this is going to suit. I mean, I think objectively it's pretty straightforward. It's not going to suit every single server and every single rank. If you do this in gold, or even in Platinum, chances are it's probably not going to work out too well, because the people that you facilitate, they're probably not going to be competent enough to really utilize your lead. And even if you do get them a lead, they're probably going to throw it at some point. The carries aren't reliable enough. And also, people panic, and as soon as you start to get really far behind like this, they don't know how to minimize. It's really hard for your team to minimize. So, you know, sure, this works in very high elo in EU, where the game pace is very fast, the carry junglers are like quite competent, you know, it's a very bot-centric meta where you have these champs like Jinx and, so, you know, carry bot lanes with Enchanter's bot lane. You know, it makes sense. But I just don't see it working in like Gold and NA, or, you know, Platinum and NA. It's just not going to work. You would have to alternate it. You'd have to make your own little adjustments, in my opinion. So anyway, comes back, insta-shoves, doesn't even bother poking under tower, doesn't even bother fishing for tower damage, instantly sees his team hovering bot side, sees action going on around here. No hesitation hovering. He's not worrying about being on the wave mid as it crashes. He knows it's worth sacrificing CS mid to make sure this bot lane gets annihilated. Because if his Aphelios and his Lulu get ahead, they're going to win anyway. They're going to win the skirmishes no matter what. Now he goes a little bit aggressive here with the Gwen. This entire time, Orianna's just hitting mid. He's getting down 40 CS. He's actually lost 3 or 4 plates here as well. Okay, so he ends up resetting. Looks like he's... No, can't even complete Lost Chapter. It doesn't even look like he's completing Lost Chapter. Again, instead of TPing mid, instantly TP's bot. He sees that's where the action is. Instantly moving down. Here we go. He has access to ultimate. Sees a little bit of a skirmish here. Looks like he tries to save the Viego, but Viego walks the wrong way, so we can't really save him. So a little bit unfortunate. Now, these sorts of situations like this, where your team get caught off guard when you're not there, they can be these can be situations where it's very hard to come back from. Because think about it, you're not useful. If your carries make mistakes and they get behind and they overstay on the map or whatever, and you're not there to help them, it's an absolute disaster. In my opinion, Viego should have just backed off and reset with the Zilean right now. I think this is a little bit overkill. So, I mean, it can go both ways. So theoretically, Zilean could have stayed a little bit longer. It just seemed a little bit forced here. So we'll see what he does. Let's see what MagiFelix does here to recover. You know, obviously his jungler made a mistake, gives a shutdown to the Hecarim. He's forced to loop all the way back mid. He's lost 4 plates individually. He's down, what, like 50 CS. It's going to be a tough game. But this is, again, the way he plays his Zilean. Instantly, no hesitation, getting to the fight, making sure he's there from the very beginning, speeding people up, slowing people down, having threat of the ultimate itself. Not worrying about being on the wave as it crashes. Very different to the way you would see Zilean played in competitive games. Like if you watch, you know, TSM play recently with Bjergsen, very, very different to the way Bjergsen interprets Zilean. And again, Bjergsen's adapted his Zilean for what works in his competitive games, in his server, what his team needs. And, you know, he obviously has a differing interpretation of Zilean's identity. Alright, so Aphelios is absolutely killing it. You know, 2-1. Aphelios Lulu heading into mid-game is going to be quite scary. Ends up hovering mid lane right now for now. Matching the enemy AD carry and support. Bot lane get that tower. It'll be interesting to see what he does here, because now they've got that tower, they're probably going to swap up. He ends up sitting mid, holding the wave in the middle, maybe wanting to allow Aphelios to potentially get the farm. And then again, just here for skirmishes, not worrying about side laning. Still only 100 CS by 15 minutes, down 50 CS over the Orianna. Just grouping up with his Viego, grouping up with Aphelios, and they just win skirmishes. They just win. Look at this. Grouping up, team fighting. Now, even looking at it again, you know, maybe this would work, potentially. Maybe there's an argument to be made that because Gold has a lot of ARAMs, maybe it would work. But, you know, someone out there has to test it. I haven't tried it in Gold. I haven't, you know, I don't play Zilean in that rank. So fast forwarding a little bit so we can get the gist of what's going on here. Again, you can really start to see his mindset. You can see how he's interpreting the win conditions, not defaulting to sides, willing to sacrifice creeps in the side lane, being there for the fights as early as he possibly can. Very different to the Zilean players that I've worked with that interpret Zilean as a hardcore scaling champion, where you want to sit back, relax, make sure you're farming well, and scaling, you know, to your 2 items. That's a lot of those Zilean players go tier, and they'll spike way later into the game. Whereas this Zilean, you know, rushing Everfrost, rushing Lucidity Boots, going to C-Pot, etc. So catches that top wave temporarily, and look at this, instantly moves back mid. He doesn't want to ever be late to a fight. He wants to be there from the start so he can create as much space as possible. Now, I don't know what he did. He kind of like started resetting in front of their face and dying. I don't really think this is that important though. So, the learning has already been done. The learning's already been done here. There's nothing really to look at. You get the point. You get the gist. So, if you actually watch a lot of his VODs, you'll see the same things minus a little bit more aggression in the early lane. The obsession about getting to the Lucidity Boots, the early HP either through Ruby Crystal or Dorans, the C-Pod, the Scorch, the Time Warp Tonic, the Biscuits, playing fast and aggressive, making sure that he's constantly basing on cannon waves, making sure that he's staying healthy enough to attend the skirmishes. And you can see I'm a little bit frustrated. And the reason being is that people think League is such a simple, they think it's just like a simple thing, or like they think copying the rank 1 player is such a simple process, or following the meta is such a simple process. He's put in a lot of time and energy into his Zilean. He's got a metric ton of champion mastery. This is his interpretation of the champion. That's why tier lists are so hard to do themselves. Like, I can't communicate that through imagery. You know, the way I interpreted my tier list, Ryze playing it a very specific way, playing Veigar, playing Ahri, playing Zilean a very specific way. If people have a differing interpretation of that champion, it makes sense why they would disagree with the given tier list. I just want you guys to think a little bit more holistically and think a little bit deeper about why these players are doing what they're doing, what are they trying to achieve, and why is it working in their given rank. So for the main learnings, guys, if you're aiming to pick up a particular champion after seeing some other high elo players have success with it, get granular. I would follow this sort of process. Step number 1, identify why you might think it might be strong, given what the setup actually infers. Like, given what you're seeing from their runes, you know, their CS numbers, their build, everything. What do you think? Why do you think it's actually quite strong, given your interpretation of the meta? Then watch a few VODs with an open mind on League of Graphs. Observe how they play. What are they looking to do? How fast are they playing? What items are they resetting on and why? How are they playing their waves? Are they trying to interact with the enemy a lot, or are they just shoving and moving and not interacting? Are they giving pressure, contesting pressure? How are they playing their waves all together? Are they trying to hold waves, pull waves, shove? What exactly are they trying to do? How are they playing fights? Are they trying to get there late from the flank? Are they TPing in late? Are they trying to get there nice and early? Are they trying to position in a certain way? How are they using their abilities? The more granular you can get and think holistically about how all the pieces are working together, the more sense it will make, and the more success you'll have in your own games. Then what you got to do is you got to think about why this may be working in this particular rank and server. Is it because the games are really fast paced? Is it because people are playing particular champions and like they're playing enchanters and carry 80, you know, long range hyper carry 80 carries where you can facilitate? Are they playing super aggressive early game junglers where there's a lot, everyone's under a lot of threat, so you've got to have a lot of mobility? Whatever it might be, start to hypothesize why it might be working. Then test it in your own games. Put it to action. Play it for 10, 15, 20 games. Get the gist of it. What's working? What's not working? Apply it to your own server. Make your own adaptations. Your own rank. Okay? So hopefully, I'm really trying to get across a message here, guys. Or hopefully you're reading it loud and clear. I am quite frustrated because it's not that simple. There's a lot more to it, and you see this time and time and time again across all one tricks, differing servers, differing rank 1 players, and it's getting old, guys. So hopefully this sets you on the right path. Hopefully next time you try to do this, you have a little bit more of a framework, and let me know if you have any other questions or inquiries. Cheers.